Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. This week we talk about a side hustle for your print on demand side hustle. What does that even mean? We'll tell you. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Print on Demand cast, your favorite place for all things print on demand and cast. But that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to retract that last statement and just say, welcome back to the show. If it's your first time, we're super glad to have you. Do us a favor. Let us know how you found us. And the best way you can do that, well, leave us a review and subscribe to the show. Let us know how you found us, what you think so far. You can rate and review on iTunes. You can rate on Spotify. Just wherever you're listening to this, do us a favor and share this content. And we will be very thankful that you did. So before we get down to the nitty gritty,
let's get down to the nitty gritty.
I'm going to bring on my co-host, the co-captain for this show, every show before this, and every show in the future, Travis Ross from Make Your Mark Design. Look, we're doing like an opposite thing: white brick, black brick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a yin and yang scenario happening.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
That's terrible.
I am surprised though that, I've used this background many shows in a row, and you've never mentioned the fact that it is perennially 2:35 in the afternoon with my background. That clock never moves.
It never changes.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I thought about it, but then also, like, what if we were in the same place? I don't know. It's crazy. So
That was
weird. Oh, that's awesome. So happy Tuesday. We're recording this on a Tuesday in June. We've had some actual summer weather. Yesterday was hot. So it's nice to actually have some sunshine and some promise of something other than the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it's been one of the most rainy seasons ever, at least in my memory, in Colorado. But yeah, nice weather outside. It's a Tuesday. I'm here kind of solo. I had somebody here this morning that was doing some production, getting an order out that needed to go today, but the rest of the day it's just been me. So you also have some interesting goings on in the Cifuentes household.
Yeah. So the reason I'm implementing a background is because I guess it's not too disheveled, but things are just kind of everywhere because we're moving. And this Saturday we will be moving to not too far, about 20 minutes from here, but just living situations, kind of a temporary thing. And so we're packing things up incrementally. As I've said to Travis before we started recording, one of my toxic traits is that anytime I'm presented with the idea of moving, I just want to sell everything I own and just start over, even if it's 20 minutes away. I feel like that's like a interstate move deal where it's like if I was going somewhere other than Colorado, then that's probably a smart thing. But for me, I'm like, I don't even care. I don't want to do it. So we're getting ready to move. And yeah, so we'll see. It's a temporary thing for a couple months until our permanent place is actually built and constructed. So Yeah, it's crazy, but it's been fun and it's gonna be good. We're gonna save a lot of money in the meantime, so that's the most important part. So
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, how about you? Anything other than work? Anything new for you? Any?
No, I had great Father's Day.
That's
Went
right.
out with the fam and
Any
it was
gifts?
all of us. Let's see. I did get a Lord of the Rings board game from my daughter,
Wow.
which was kind of cool. And then I got some cards and stuff. And then our kids kind of pooled together and took us out for dinner and like paid for everything. So that
Oh
was
wow, that's really
kind of
cool.
flipping the script. You know, when you start
Yeah.
getting children that have money, it like is weird.
Yeah. I totally spaced. Well, I spaced it was Father's Day because I don't have any children yet. So,
Mhm.
but it was fun. Yeah. So good. Father's Day went well. We went to the lake in McIntosh Lake here, and a
Oh
group of
yeah,
us, and played some Beersby, and some people went paddle boarding and played some ultimate
it was
frisbee
a nice day.
as much as we could because you know that Josh is still not completely
Right.
mobile, and Bobby is recovering from his neck surgery. So basically, it was Jason and I just running and throwing the frisbee to each other.
Sounds like a
So
great time was had by
yeah,
all.
yeah, it was a good time. It was fun. So awesome. Well, let's get into what we have for the day here.
Mhm.
What do you want to start with first? Where
Well,
should we go?
I think we should let's jump into the point of interest and we'll go from there.
Okay, awesome. Well, uh, right into this week's point of interest, and probably my favorite bumper that has ever been made, and the video is completely unnecessary. But turn up your volume, folks, and grab a tissue because you're going to get emotional.
Point of interest.
It's just magical.
It is. It gets you right in the feels, right where it counts.
That was awesome.
So, all right, this week's point of interest, Travis, we've got something cool to kind of
Mhm.
tell folks that has to do with a show that we were on recently in the past month. And then we're going to kind of talk about the folks that we chatted with and just cool developments. So we'll just fill the people in.
Sure. So we were on the podcast for Heat Press Nation. I don't know, a month, 2 months ago, something like that. Had a great time. We still need to get them on here. We are lacking in that guest department. But anyway, after that, we've been going back and forth on Instagram and such. And they actually, I said, hey, do you guys have, any like affiliate programs or anything like that for people that, are making content that makes sense or to, in print on demand. And they just recently gave us an affiliate link. So it's kind of cool. So we wanted to, and I mean, I would, pull back the curtain a little bit. I would promote these guys regardless of an affiliate link because it's really a great company. And we've talked about them on the show. So it's Heat Press Nation. And if you want to check out, their site and you want to go through our affiliate link in case you decide to buy something, we get a kickback. It's just printondemandcast.com/HPN. So for Heat Press Nation, and we'll have that, of course, in the show notes. But we thought we'd take a little bit of time here on the point of interest to just go over their site and just a couple of things, like, because I own a lot of the stuff that they sell.
Yeah.
So let me jump in here, and I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll just go full screen, and you can see here, this is just their front page. And up here in the title bar, I mean, they've got so many.
Yeah, the navigation bar is extensive.
Yeah, it's nuts. And they've got sales going on right now. Before we press record, I realized, they're selling a mug press for 50% off. It's a $200 mug press. They're selling it for $50 or for $100. And I thought, wow, it's not the ones we have, but pretty dang good deal. But yeah, so you've got this little scroller bar, and then all down here, you've got kind of more navigation. it's just crazy. It's very, very cool site. They have a lot of products, but I thought I'd show you a few of the things that we have here at Make Your Mark Design. So starting off, you got this Sawgrass SG500, and this is like a kit. So it comes with, some extra ink and, some video classes and just a whole bunch of extra stuff. That'll get you started, and a few sublimation blanks that you can kind of test things out on. But this is the printer that both Josiah and I have used since we started. We got into sublimation, and I guess that's not totally true. I did start with a kind of a retro, or we retrofitted a regular printer with the sublimation dies. But as soon as I switched over to the Sawgrass, it was like the prints that were coming out of that thing were probably, it was going 5 times as fast. It was just such a better workflow for us that we didn't have the wait, hurry up and wait as the sublimation prints were actually printed out. And you can't see it in this picture, but inside of this drawer where the you can put different sizes of media or different sizes of paper in there. So you can do your 8.5 by 11. I think you can go with a larger one as well, like a longer one. But you can also use mug paper, and it's got like guides in there so it won't get jammed. It'll, kind of snug up next to the mug paper, which makes it super easy to do mugs. And that's really what this thing has done for us. It's $574. So if you're interested in that, interested in, starting to get into sublimation with mugs, or even with, flat, you can do up to 8.5 by 11. So, that's a decent size, front t-shirt image or something. If you want to sublimate your t-shirts or do some onesies, or, we've talked all kinds of times about different things you can do with sublimation. Even with the flat press, we do a lot of, we do a boat flag. So it's like it's a customized flag that people will put on their boat or hang on their wall or whatever. And you could do that with this. And there's just so many other things that you can do. So that's the SG500. They also have an SG1000, which allows you to go a little wider. I had one of those at a previous, when we were in Longmont, we had one of those. It was great. It also allows you can use much bigger media, and they have like this oversized tray that you can put on it to just go massive. But so that's Sawgrass. We love Sawgrass. We should get an affiliate link with Sawgrass too. But anyway, so then we've got this hat press, which this is the one I own. So it's the Heat Press Nation Signature Series Auto Open Cap Heat Press. And this is awesome for all kinds of things. We use it primarily to, here you can see I used it on my hat. So you see that that's a piece of leatherette. We engraved it, we cut it out, and then it has an adhesive on the back, and we just pressed it right on to that hat. And that's what we use this thing for. It comes with different platens. So if the crown of the hat is a different size, you can kind of.
Yeah. And I will say, we also use that for apparel. It was works really well with sleeve like transfers. If you have folks that want to do sleeve designs,
we use
those different size platens. You can just throw the sleeve on there and then just press it down. It was a lifesaver when we were doing that. So it was really fun.
Getting a call. Hang on a second.
Yep. No, you're good. You're good. So as Travis talks about that, so this hat heat press series was, to his point, great for the leatherette. We used it a lot for sublimation as well, but it's just a really quality piece of equipment, and for the price, it's comparatively, it's a great deal. So if you're looking to do hat sublimation or sleeve prints or anything like that, or leatherettes, it's a great piece of equipment for sure. And then we've got, so there's this heat transfer mug press, like Travis was saying, that we have. These ones work really well. You can see there you have the little lever that you drop down, and you can wrap it in the sublimation paper around it. Obviously, this works in tandem with a Sawgrass printer or whatever else that you might have to wrap the paper on. And then you slide it in there. And a lot of them come with different sizes there that you can see the little platen kind of, or the, I don't know what you call that part, but the middle part, the heating element.
Heating. There you go. Heating element. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah,
I was going to see.
interchangeable.
Yeah, the next slide we're going to talk about. So this is the Signature Series. This is what we have, and we use the crap. We have a bunch of these, and we use the crap out of them. We love them. And yeah, to your point, you can change out. So if this heating element kind of goes bad over time, you can just, it's 4 screws and it plugs into this piece here, and you can put different sizes on there. They have packages that have different heating elements, like for latte mugs and different things like that. But the next one we were gonna talk about was the skinny tumbler heating element. So this is really cool because it's longer and it'll do a full wrap on the skinny tumbler. And like during the heating process, or while it's actually in there and being pressed, about halfway through, you just, if you're doing a full wrap, you can open it, you can spin it with a glove, of course, because it's really hot, and then pull it back, and you can get a full sublimation wrap on a skinny tumbler. And so we have one of these. We've been doing some skinny tumblers for people, and very, very cool. This HPN Signature Series automated sublimation mug press is it's a really nice one because it has so much versatility. Now, like I was saying earlier, there is one on here that you can get that'll do, your standard 11-ounce mugs for about $100. So if you are thinking about getting into this, you obviously need you don't necessarily have to get a Sawgrass. There are other printers out there that you can get that are less, but you need to be able to print the sublimation transfer, and then get one of these guys, maybe just get the $100 one to start out, and then maybe move up to this one at some point. Unless you want to do the skinny tumblers, which is a really hot selling item right now. But so that's the mug side of things. Anything else, Josiah, on the mugs?
I don't think so. I think you covered it. But the versatility is cool, especially with the skinny tumblers. Lots of things you can do if you want to be kind of diversify the drinkware you offer. But yeah.
So the next one is this Stahl's Hottronics Fusion IQ. So it's actually not a Heat Press Nation branded product. They do have for less some Heat Press Nation heat presses. They have different sizes. They have a 15 by 15. This is a 16 by 20. We have this one. I had one, and then I didn't have one.
And then
I had one. Then I got one again. So
yes, looks familiar. I recognize that old beast.
So this is different than the Geonite is also something that we have here. And this is the Geonite digital Night 16 by 20 clamshell auto open heat press. And so you can see this is going to actually pivot from the back. And so it's going to open like a clam where the stalls is going to come down evenly. So when that matters is when you're doing thicker substrates. So say you want to, you want to do some pet kind of resting, your pet has died and you want to honor them in your garden or whatever. And you want like a slate, something slate or something, you want to put their face on it or whatever you can. And it's maybe, a half-inch thick. Well, with that clamshell, it's going to squeeze the back of it first, and you're not going to get as much pressure on the front. But with this type of heat press, it's called a swing away, and you can see how it's kind of swinging to the side because you can completely swing that at a 90-degree angle. And when you bring it back and you actually apply the pressure, it's going to go exactly straight. And so it doesn't matter, if it's a thicker substrate. Now on t-shirts, it's not really matter. It doesn't matter because it's not thick enough. But depending on what you're wanting to do, you might consider a swing away press as opposed to a clamshell press like the Geonite. But we have both of these in our facility and use the crap out of them. They're great. So the Geonite is 1650 with the auto pop, which I encourage people to get that auto open, the auto pop, so you don't accidentally forget and it doesn't open and it scorches your shirt or whatever. The Stahl's does not auto pop. I think they have one that you can hook up to an air compressor. That's the same brand as this, but it does auto pop because it's all I mean, you literally push a floor button or something, and it like uses the air compressor, and it actually shuts and then opens when it's done with the timer. So there are
Right.
some options there for you guys. But the Hotronix Fusion is $2,650. And it's a beast. It's pretty dang heavy. So that's the two that we have. Like I said, they have other ones that are less expensive. You can probably get into it, a decent heat press Nation heat press for, $1,000, $800 even, depending on which brand you're going with. And then the other thing they have on their site is just a million sublimation blanks. And I just, there's all
everything
the
you need.
mugs. There's a ornament there. There's a license plate. There's, a magnet. We've done magnets here. There's some dog tags that, you can see how they kind of show up when you hover over them. Lots and lots of different things. There's, the cooler sleeves for your beer or your Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Koozies.
Mouse pads, it just goes, there's the skinny tumblers, just goes on and on. We use these shadow mounts because we print some flat, sublimated panels, and we put these mounts on the back so people can, it kind of comes off the wall a little bit, just all kinds of stuff. And this is obviously 8 pages long, so I'm not going to bore you with all that, but, do yourself a favor and just head over to Heat Press Nation. Feel free. You can use our link. You don't have to, it doesn't matter. We have one, and they were kind enough to give us one, but check it out. There might be something in here that sparks, some ideas. I mean, they've also got vinyl presses. If you want to do vinyl cutters, they've got, these different bundles that you can get a white toner DTF bundle. White toner DTF. That's
wow.
I guess technically a white toner printer is direct to film. It's just a different process than what we talk about as DTF, but they have all kinds of different bundles. If you want to get into sublimation, you might be able to, get the printer and the press and some blanks or something like that. And then of course they got all these great sales, but go to printondemandcast.com/HPN. And you can check out what they've got there and, see if there's anything that catches your eye.
Yep. Awesome. And then also, if you do use printondemandcast.com/HPN, you support the show a little bit as well. And also jumpstart whatever it is that you're looking to do, whether it is sublimation or whether you need a heat press. I mean, we talked about a lot of things that last week, a lot of print processes that you just need a heat press for. And if you're like, well, I don't have a heat press. Well, now you have a lead on a heat press. So avail yourself of that as well. So I said at the top of the show, we are talking about a side hustle for your print on demand side hustle, which I know can be confusing and no one really knows what that could possibly mean. So we should probably explain what we're talking about so that people don't just click off the show. So with that being said, let's go to this week's main event.
I was singing along. Were you singing along?
I was. That was one of the first ones we ever did as far as bumpers. I think we did that like in the garage where we first recorded the first episode of the show.
Yeah, nearly 3 years ago. Isn't that insane?
Before when I typed in the episode number that we're on right now, it's episode 148. And I was like, what, how many years is that? So yeah, we're less than 10 episodes away to the 3-year mark.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude.
Which is crazy. So I think we should just tell all of our top listeners to come hang with us in Colorado for our 3-year anniversary. We can't, we can't cover anything, but we'll have a good time when you get here. You can guarantee that. It'll be worth every penny of your Spirit Airlines flight. Just kidding. Don't do that to yourself.
Don't do that.
All right. So we're talking about a side hustle for your print-on-demand side hustle, and we all know if you listen to the show, if you've been in the POD space for any length of time, you know that the POD marketplaces aren't the only places to make money. Common sense, or well, a lot of people know, or even if you're first day into this thing, you know that you can make good money in Amazon Merch on Demand. You can make good money in Redbubble or other royalty-based sites, or Etsy, Amazon Seller Central, Walmart. Those are all things that we've covered, all things that you've probably heard. Like I said, even if this is day one and you're just trying to get your, POD legs about you and kind of navigate this world that you know nothing about, you've heard probably some of those names in some form or another as potential places where you can make money. However, this is where the side hustle to your side hustle comes in. There's more ways that you can make money in this game. So that's what we want to kind of break down for you first. So Travis, I guess the first one that I can recall, one of the side hustles for your side hustle that I can harken back to is episode 55, almost 100 episodes ago, when we talked with Nick Eden, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to that episode, we're long overdue, actually, for him to come back on the show. Yeah. In fact, it would be cool to see if he's available for episode 155. So 100 episodes later, we can catch up with him and see exactly what he's doing now. But yeah, it was a really, really good episode. Very, very educational and just full of amazing pieces of advice.
Yeah. One of the things that he was doing that I remember was he was doing something like on pizza boxes. He would do advertisements on pizza. He would go door to door and sell like advertisements for this local pizza shop, and he would make money that way. So he was, kind of doing that biz to biz thing. But where it comes into kind of the print on demand arena is taking that same idea, going business to business, but using a merch account, like an Amazon merch account or a Redbubble account, or, even just figuring out how to do it, with any t-shirt manufacturer. Could be royalty based, could be, it doesn't matter. But the idea was you would go into a, like a pizza shop or something and say, hey, why don't you guys do, a free dessert on Tuesdays for anybody who wears a t-shirt, advertising your business. And then you would make them like the cards that go on the table and the little what are those called?
Little table tents
folders, table tents. Yeah. You'd make some table tents for them with a QR code that would take them directly to the link or to the site that they could buy the t-shirt on. And they're getting a bonus because they're getting, a free dessert on Tuesdays when they come in, or 20% off their bill, or whatever the owner wants to do. The owner is getting the benefit of free advertising for these people walking around in their t-shirts. And you're getting, the difference between what the print on demand fulfillment place charges you and the total, sales, whatever you sell for. So if you sell for $20 and, you can get it printed and shipped for 14 or 15 or something, you're making $5. And you could even offer that to split it with them and say, hey, if you want to do $24.99, we can both make $5 every time somebody buys. Plus, that business is getting that free advertising. Really is, in the immortal words of Michael Scott, a win-win-win. That'd be great.
I do too.
That was awesome.
But that's the best we can. We have an office bumper for the dad jokes, but I think that's for some reason the only office reference we have.
It's a bummer. Speaking of dad jokes, I did want to tell you, my wife has been, recently kind of going through some shopping spree. She's been buying.
That can be dangerous.
Yeah, she's been taking up painting. She's been doing, buying paintbrushes and
acrylics and all of
this stuff. And it's kind of spilled out into other niches. And the other day she bought an axe from an online shop in France
What?
to be shipped to our house in Colorado. I'm like, why do you need? But yeah, she bought this axe from France to be shipped to our house here in Colorado.
That'd be exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. And she had a foreign accent.
And that's the dad joke of this week.
The weekly dad joke.
You're all welcome, and you're all better for it. And use it at your next summer barbecue. Save it up for the 4th of July, whatever you want to do. If you just, you'll be the hit or the hate of the party if you just go back at least 10 episodes and collect all the dad jokes and just use them in conversation.
Or better yet, you could subscribe to our email list at printondemandcast.com and get an extra dad joke every single week. I feel like when we talk about this, though, we don't talk about the fact that we actually put print on demand stuff in there too. There's interesting things that we actually talk about. It's not just you get a dad joke. It's actually some interesting content or, kind of an extra point of interest, a few extra point of interest, if you will, for the week or whatever. But yeah, check that out.
Yeah. Be sure to subscribe, get informed, and get educated and entertained with the dad joke in there. So, but yeah, Travis, to your point though, the local merch is really, really good. I will say in my experience in working with restaurants, you really have to, there's probably going to be a little bit of educating to the business owner that you're talking to, especially if they don't have a grid. If you walk in and there's not a lot of marketing happening already, you're probably going to have a longer conversation with them to kind of educate them on the process of why this is a good idea and how this is going to work. And you're basically encouraging people to be free advertisement for your company and then come in and get a discount on the dessert. So to your point, but yeah, it's definitely doable for sure. So
I know another guy who did, he had a great deal with a tire store, and it was the same thing. It was literally, if you wear the shirt, you buy 3 tires and you get your 4th tire free. And a lot of these tire stores, they do that promotion anyway. A lot. They'll do a 3, buy 3 because their margins can afford it or whatever. But I mean, so it's not just, doesn't have to just be restaurants. You can just allow your creativity to kind of inspire you to create really interesting promo packages for these different businesses. Just know what you're pitching when you go in, be confident. And to your point, be ready to explain it, but don't over explain it. Cause that can get in the way of the sales process too. You just, as both Josiah and I, probably me more, I talk too much, and sometimes that gets in the way of the sales process. So they don't need to know, that it's DTG printing or what, or whatever. I mean, maybe they need to know it's digital, so it can be a one-off, but they don't need to know and it also has to be pre-treated and blah, 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 blah. They don't give a crap about that.
Yep. And you can also help them kind of self-discover as well. If you ask the right questions and let them do a lot of the talking so that they realize why this would be a good idea. So I think it's a whole nother episode of just like identifying clients' pain points and how to get them to realize that your solution will fix all of these things without you having to do the 30-minute elevator spiel,
Right.
So the next one, Travis, set up a Shopify store. Now you have a specific experience with this particular way recently in the last month or so that this took place.
Yeah. So, a guy reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this." It was a political thing, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to run for local office, and I want to have the ability to sell like, stickers and T-shirts and just some merch items, so I can kind of get my name out there." And so, but he didn't want to obviously he didn't want to do any of the work. He didn't want to do any of the designs. He basically just wanted me to set the whole thing up and just pay him at the end of the month. Basically like a royalty. And so he I talked to him and I said, hey, we could use Shopify. It's going to be, $30 a month, just to start. And then for our, it'll be this much for our design time. It'll be this much to set up the website. And then obviously we can, get all the sales. They'll come to us, and then we will give you a detailed report at the end of the month and pay you, your share of what it is. And so basically I set him up a Shopify site. I went to Printify and tied all of the back end, because we don't do stickers. So I just tied it all into Shopify and put all these stickers on there. I put some, obviously some coffee mugs and some t-shirts and some hoodies. And before that, we had our designer design some cool designs for him. He had some ideas. I think he had like 4 or 5 designs. And so we had our designer kind of mock all that up for him. He okayed it. And then I just started going to town on Printify, just putting these designs on different products. And Shopify, it's really cool. Printify actually has an app inside of Shopify, and so do a lot of the other fulfillment companies. But inside of Shopify, you can basically go to the Printify product catalog and just find the products you want, set the art exactly where you want it on the product. And then when you hit publish, it'll push it back to the Shopify store and create that listing. And you can edit it, and you can change the title, and you can change, whatever you want in the description and all of that stuff. And they have some kind of pre-existing mock-ups. So it's not just the main mock-up. They'll have like 4 or 5 others for a lot of their products, maybe not all of them, but so, when it looks really legit, when you finally, get that site all set up and have it integrated with Printify. But, so think about that. You can offer this as a service. You can say, hey, it's $50 a month, so we can host your website. And then you get anything beyond, you can give them a price sheet that's based on your Printify prices, just tack on 20% or something like that. So if the shirt's $10, it's going to be 20 or 12 to them, and they sell it for $24.99, and they make the middle part of that, which is great. So yeah, there's a lot of money there with just the products. But then if you're going to design for them, and you have the ability to do it yourself or whatever, I mean, we charge $60 an hour, and each one of those designs, I think we charged him an hour for. Then the website build out, because he had spent so much with the designs, I just said $250 for that, but you can charge 500, whatever you're comfortable charging. And, in the end, that's a nice chunk of change that you've just kind of made for yourself inside of the print on demand game, but it's not even your products. It's nothing.
Yeah.
You're just basically collecting the money and then paying them out. You could also do it to where, you set it up in their name and they're getting all of the money, and you're not hosting it. You're not doing anything. You just design it and set it up for them, make your $500-$600 for doing that, or $1,000, whatever it is, and just walk away. So you could go either way. This particular customer just wanted it to be completely hands off and just get mailbox money at the end of the month.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes sense. And yeah, like you said, you can charge a lot more than $250. I know that there's people that, I mean, that particular person that started that store had reached out to me, and I recommended him to you guys because he had heard, or Madeline reached out. I don't know how exactly, but if you have the bandwidth to do all of that stuff, then certainly charge for your time, because your time, I mean, you could be doing other things with that time. Yeah. So definitely make it worth your while if you're going to be doing all of those things for them, for sure. The next one, Travis, is something that you and I both have experience in, and something that, I mean, really was kind of the lifeblood business model of What For Apparel for the entirety of its existence, really. But we're talking about influencer outreach or influencer marketing, which is a huge way to leverage and get your business out there for folks. I know, Travis, right now you have a particular client as well that is an influencer that fulfilling a lot of, I mean, you're pretty much fulfilling all their t-shirts, right? Or most of their merch on their store.
For the most part, they're just doing t-shirts. They have some hoodies, but yeah, it's pretty much all, uh, it's it's an influencer who has a really popular YouTube store. And,
Yeah.
when they first launched, they were selling a crap ton of stuff, and, it kind of trickled down, but we still would get, several items a day to ship
Yeah.
out. And then I remember, recently they launched 2 new designs on t-shirts. And I'm not kidding. They probably sold 300 in a week. And, so that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always, I mean, I will say a caveat to this influencer marketing thing, or something to kind of keep aware of, is that what I found during my time was that it was just like the initial launch is usually really good. And I've
Mhm.
talked about this before. If you've listened to anything that we've talked about influencer marketing wise, you've heard me say this before, but not all influencer marketing is great, but not all influencers are marketers. So
Right.
there's a little bit of that. The initial launch is super cool, and then it kind of just dies. I can think we talk about a TikTok influencer that I worked with in the very beginning of me reaching out to folks on TikTok, and he
Mhm.
had maybe 500,000 followers at the time, and I thought his recurring skit that he did on TikTok was really funny. And so I reached out to him, and it was the same thing, man. We came up with some like 4 killer ideas,
Mhm.
and then he made, he sold, well, he made in commission $2,000 in 2 weeks. Like, that's how fast that stuff sold.
Wow.
And so it was huge. But then after that initial launch, it was done,
Yeah.
because he spent all of his best ideas and didn't want to kind of come out in waves of stuff, so that keeps people coming back to the store. So all of that to say, just like
Mhm.
in the local merch scenario, there will be some coaching that you're going to have to offer
Yep.
the influencer, but also know your boundaries so that you're not becoming their marketing department, because you're not on their payroll. As much as you want them to succeed, if you're not careful, they'll start leveraging you to do all of their marketing, or lean on you for all of their marketing advice, and then you have to start charging them for that time, because
Right.
that's not what you're there to do.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, when you talk about coaching, sometimes you when you do kind of get a fish on the hook, if you will, and we'll talk more about, how to get those fish on the hook. But when you do finally get them, a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I have all these ideas, and I want to put all of these ideas on every possible thing, and I
Yes.
want to, I want 1,000 products, or a
Yep.
100 products up day one."
Yep.
And that is not the best strategy for them. They
Terrible.
may not know that, but
Right.
we do.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the part where, it's really, if you're wondering, well, why isn't that a good idea? Or what would I say to them? Basically, what they'll be doing is just inundating their users with their fans with way too many
Mhm.
choices.
Right.
And analysis paralysis is a real thing on a consumer side too. Or if you're a fan of someone, they launch something and they've got 45 different designs over 30 different, products. And
Yeah.
then
Crazy.
it's like, dude, there's way too much information. Like, it's just information overload. So I'm going to pause and come back. And if you lose them in the initial click, then the percentage chance of them coming back to purchase again is pretty small, even if you have cart reminders.
Yeah.
So you can do this in-house, or you
Mhm.
can outsource it, and they don't need to know if you're outsourcing. Really, I mean, they
Right.
won't really care if you're outsourcing it or not.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, you could use that whole Shopify setup that I talked about earlier. Just know that, there's costs associated with that, and, you may not want to. You may, if you can, talk them into sharing those costs, it may make sense to use a Shopify. But, we've used Deco Network for a
Yeah.
ton of people, and that's what you guys did. And, because we already used it for our shop management software, and it has this website ability, it made sense to use it. I do know people that do not have shops that are using Deco Network and Inksoft and these other
Mhm.
platforms that allow website creation, um, to do they're just doing this. They're just,
Yep.
they don't have a shop. They're just creating the sites and taking the orders and then outsourcing those orders. One of the cool things in Deco is that you can actually team up with other people in Deco that have the ability to do production, and you can outsource it all on the platform. So again, to your point, they don't need to know how you're getting it done. They just want that check at the end of the month, man.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I mean, you probably do have to, if you're outsourcing it or whatever that system looks like, you probably do have to have some, and we've talked about this also, some template responses to customers who are wondering where their stuff is, because you are going to be the face of that product to the consumer and also the influencer. So if the influencer says, hey, you know, John Doe's t-shirt, it's been out for 3 weeks and there's nothing there, what's going on? Right. What you don't say is, I don't know, man, we're outsourcing everything, I don't even know what's happening. you have to figure out a way to get answers for those influencers, because I can say from experience, some of them are very needy and some of them believe their own hype. So it can make a very interesting dichotomy when you're working with people that are famous in a subculture sense, but no one knows them outside of their little bubble.
Right.
There's some ego there that you're going to have to also probably navigate and figure out the best way to tell them, like, dude, outside of TikTok, I don't know that anyone knows who you are. So it's kind of like little humble pie, but some of them have egos that you're just like, dude, you really like you, which is good in one sense, because that's what you have to be successful on platforms like that. In a negative sense, it can be really hard to work with them and kind of manage expectations in that sense.
Yeah. So as far as like how to set something like this up, there's a million different ways that you can go about it. But when you do, again, have that fish on the hook, you really want to encourage them to start with maybe 4 or 5 designs max on, 3 or 4 products. And you can talk to them about, hey man, I love these other 5 to 10 ideas that you have, and we can absolutely do them. Let's do an initial launch with these 5 products or these 5 designs. So we can, kind of test the waters, and then we can slowly drip out new designs, because people who have bought the first batch of design, like if you come to a site and there's 25 different t-shirts of your favorite YouTuber or whatever, you're probably going to buy one. And you go ahead and you buy one, and then that's it. But if you come and there's only 5 and you buy one, and then a month later or 2 months later, they drop another one and you're like, oh my gosh, that's really cool, you might buy another one. So getting that helps with the return customer element. And you really do need to communicate that to them, because to your point, a lot of these people, they're just pretty, or they can talk fast and they have a solid take on something, but they're not marketers necessarily. They're not thinking in that way. They're just they're really content creators is what they are, which doesn't mean that you're a marketer. And so helping them navigate that with some confidence and with some data to back it up, and some logic to back it up is going to serve them. And also it's going to maybe make them think, okay, this is somebody I can respect. I trust them. I see where they're coming from. And so they could stay longer with you, or whatever the case may be. You guys had a massive influencer for quite a while, and you ran into all the problems in the book with this guy, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, from not anticipating volume or growth correctly to dealing with his unrealistic expectations, to trying to tell him, because in his instance, because he was so massive in many realms, not just in the realm of Instagram. He was known outside of that, still pretty niched as far as like you have to be in certain circles to know him, but if you're in those circles, you knew him. Right. And figuring out a way to tell him a hard truth, because folks like that, I would imagine, probably surround themselves with people who think that every day they have is incredible. And if you tell them it's not incredible, then you're probably, then you just lost the touch or whatever. So from that to some, again, ego stuff, when you're dealing with anyone of any monicum of fame, you're going to deal with that because it goes to the head pretty quickly. But also, obviously, massive success with him for, you know, probably a good 6 months, and had a good run at it. And, you know, it was really fun creating with him, collaborating ideas with him. In hindsight, I will say, and this is why I tell people, charge what you're worth. I didn't. I basically kept that man's brand and t-shirts going solely. He was my only responsibility for those 6 months. As soon as it went as crazy as it did, I was like, okay, I have to take care of this account. But it was a very quick learning curve. And we're talking like overnight, just anywhere from 250 to 300 pages of ShipStation orders. And there's 6 orders to a page. And it's just like Lord of the Rings novel size of orders that have to go out. And so, huge learning experience. Would definitely do some things differently, given a second chance at a client of that size. But all of that to say, there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to navigate, and you're going to have to decide what you're willing to deal with in exchange for the financial success that will come when that happens. Because to your point, they're content creators, but a lot of these guys, not necessarily the person that I'm talking about, but a lot of these folks, their content became famous on a fluke, on accident. Right. They tapped a vein that they didn't even know they were going to tap. And then all of a sudden they have followers and people wanting more, and they are making it up as they go and trying to stay in that vein as best as possible. So marketing's not, they're just trying to figure out how to keep content that's engaging, that people will keep responding to. So marketing usually does take that back seat.
Yeah. So I have one more point on this, and then I want to ask you a question. But I think another thing that you know, I'm kind of I don't know. I think you would probably agree with me. One thing when you're trying to land this big fish that you may consider is something in writing, some type of a contract.
Sure.
That has some time frames and has some, you know, just kind of qualifications as far as like, how can either side get out of this contract? And let's just discuss that up front, because you guys didn't have that in place. And
correct. So when you're dealing, I mean, there's still an outstanding balance with this particular person, and the way that things were the way he handled the divorce, for lack of a better term, or the separation business wise, probably wasn't up. I'm not naming. Okay, I'm not saying who it is. It's not up to the integrity that he claims to have on his social media channels. I'll just say that.
Right. Yep.
So, you definitely want to have some paper trail. That's one thing I learned during that season, just across the board. Whether it's you're renting from family, there needs to be a lease. You're landing any client. I think because we started so small, and we had that kind of like family shop vibe, which is awesome.
Right.
You also have to reinforce that, or follow that up with some actual business savvy, which isn't to say that myself or Jason weren't business savvy. It's just that it wasn't on our radar because we're super relational. And so handshakes were fine. Or like, yeah, that's totally great. We'll do that. Circling, if I had a second go at this, doing this full time, I would certainly have template contracts for this. It's not binding, it's still month to month, but here's the expectation. And if you want this to be done with, if you're done and you want to part ways, cool, here's what that process looks like, and here's an exit interview, and here's what, if there's an outstanding balance, this is what you're liable for, or there will be legal recourse. Like, just making sure you're covered in all of that sense is so important, because you will hurt yourself. So and there's lots. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, don't let that scare you either. I mean,
no. I mean,
there's a million things on Google you could probably Google about. You know, I mean, you can actually talk to a lawyer if you want to do it, or you could like kind of
and they've got some
make it.
Yeah, they've got boilerplate templates that you can just take and kind of modify, and it has a lot of that legal jargon. Even if you don't necessarily understand all of it,
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee you, unless they're a super high end influencer, they don't know it either. They're
Yeah.
just like,
And
this is,
yeah, and I mean, you don't even necessarily have to be planning on using it, in a legal
no,
sense.
no.
It's more that it brings out kind of that initial conversation of what happens if this goes sour.
Yeah, it sets
And
expectations, which
exactly.
unmet expectations are the source of so much friction in business. It's that
Mm-hmm.
that old principle of hope deferred makes the heart sick. Well, if you're not getting your hopes up for something that was never established to be an expectation, then we're going to be good. Like we never
Yeah.
promised this to one another. So you
Right.
have to outline those expectations because you'll circumvent so much of
Yeah.
that like muddy water stuff, murky,
Mm-hmm.
scenarios if you just have it in writing. So get expectations just out on the board. That is a
Yep.
piece of advice for business relationships, romantic relationships. Like just name your expectations because then we have a place where we're working from. And so there's go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's stick to the print on demand part and not really give romantic relationship
Yeah.
advice. But
Yeah, that's a different podcast.
I was going to ask you, yeah, that's a bonus podcast that we'll never do.
No.
I was going to ask you because What For Apparel, you really kind of built your business. You even mentioned that on this type
Yeah.
of outreach to influencers. And I mean, obviously we do have an episode somewhere in the history of the show that is talking about influencer marketing, but you can go back and listen to that and kind of understand the gears and like what you have to do. But I wanted to know, like, in your experience doing this, which platforms are the best?
Sure.
What did you have the most success with? And then which platforms, not just the success in somebody saying, yeah, I'll make a shop with you, but like, which of those channels kind of made the most sales for you? If you had to choose one, like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, what was it?
Yeah, didn't do much through Facebook. There's not a lot of Facebook influencers,
Not a lot of
influencers
out there. Yeah.
It was really bizarre. Madeline had a really innate ability to land clients through Instagram. I had zero luck on Instagram ever. I mean, I don't know.
She's pretty.
Tell you why.
So.
Exactly. They click to her profile and it's like, wow, she's pretty. They click to my profile and be like, that guy's a bald-headed. What is happening? I don't know. So I had wild success on TikTok. Granted, TikTok didn't come along until, to me anyway, like 2019, 2020. I didn't really start messing with it all that much. But I immediately figured out like, oh, these people, I can DM these people, or there's their email is in their bio of TikTok, so I can email them. So, and I've said this before too, and this is another tidbit or piece of advice. Follower number doesn't necessarily equal good engagement.
Right.
So, you could have someone that has 10,000 followers, but his crowd is just committed because he engages with them. It's going to be much more successful than someone who has 500,000 followers and doesn't respond to a single thing they do. So, so you've got TikTok that works really well. You just have to kind of test it out. Twitter, I had some initial early success on Twitter with some different accounts. Some of the first accounts I landed were on Twitter, but it was more because I had a relational connection with the people that I was DMing. But to that point, it's gonna be whatever works best for you. Just remember to keep your pitch fairly succinct. I always think of that Office episode where it's like, what's a good pitch? And Jim's like, free paper. So basically it's like, hey, free merch. I'll do, you know what I mean? So something that gets their attention and will at least let them entertain a call with you. You want to get them on the phone. Right. But I feel like, again, maybe we could revisit influencer marketing kind of front to finish on a later episode, because this one's getting a little long in the tooth. Or if you guys have questions about influencer marketing and want to chat with myself or with Travis, it's something that, again, I'm super passionate about. I know a lot of experience, a lot of wins, a lot of losses, and everything in between. So if that's something that you guys want to hear more about and you're interested, then let us know. Because I mean, we could do a whole thing on the do's and don'ts of influencer marketing.
Yeah, I think we should. I think, I don't care if they want to hear it. I'm just kidding. But you're right. This episode's getting a little longer. So let's go ahead and start wrapping it up. First of all, thanks everybody for joining us, for listening.
Hold on. I have an idea.
Oh, okay. All right.
You do the outro.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay. You know what? I'm going to do it. Okay, hey guys, first of all, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Print on Demand cast with your favorite hosts, Travis and Josiah. If you are on social media, we'd love for you to join our Facebook group. Just go to printondemandcast.com/Facebook. We're also on Instagram, printondemandcast.com/Instagram. And of course, YouTube, printondemandcast.com/YouTube. And if you want to sign up for that awesome newsletter, just go to printondemandcast.com. It'll pop up there. You can enter your email address. You'll get an extra weekly dad joke, which is awesome. And some cool tips and tricks and ideas and things that are going on in the print on demand world. I really enjoy writing those. And so that's what you can also do. If you got an idea for the show or you just want to say hi, you can shoot us an email at info@printondemandcast.com. And that was that. There's some other things, I'm sure. Please rate and review us on iTunes. We did talk about a contest last week. The first person who gives us a 5-star review on iTunes will get their choice of a free shirt at printondemandcast.com/shop. And so you can go to the shop, kind of pick out which one you like, and then go to Apple Music and find our podcast and give us a 5-star review. We would certainly appreciate it. It helps the algorithms and all of that stuff. So the last point on our sheet says outro music that's amazing and transforms humans' hearts and minds. So before we go to that, Josiah, is there anything that we need to add?
I don't think so. I think
how did I do?
You did well. I think you covered it. You've listened to me ramble on for 148 episodes during that section. So I would hope that you would get the general gist. You could say anything really, probably be better than my stream of consciousness speech at the end of each show. But yes, you got it. We're covered. And I don't think we need to do anything else.
All right. Well, then for Josiah, I'm Travis, and see you next week on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.